this is the mind trap. Some thoughts this morning that lead into it. So very, very interesting morning today. For some reason, and this is another thing that people wouldn't assume about me, but I sometimes have these ideas of quitting, right? And backing off as well. So for some reason, I was almost convinced this morning. So just relate how this runs in your head. I was almost convinced this morning that I should take the morning off. So I had scheduled to do this. I'd committed to it. I post about it. So, but I had this just almost certainty and clarity that I should take the morning off and sleep in today. And I created, what happens when you do that is I created this supportive narrative that was backed, right? I created a narrative and I backed it up by a combination of justifications, like the holidays, right? Hey man, it's the holidays. So we all start to think that we can just stop doing anything that we're driving towards because it's the holidays. Observe that. And the need for more sleep. I started to say, hey man, you need some more sleep. Everybody says, oh, a dragon doesn't sleep enough. I sleep fine. And a side order of spending time with my chicken, right? So another thing that was going on in my head is I said, oh yeah, you know what? I'll sleep in and I'll snuggle, chicken, my wife, right? I don't sleep with a chicken. That's my wife's name. So are you good? This is my thought. Are you good at validating your entitlement to back off of effort? Are you good at validating your entitlement to back off of effort? Because if you can figure this out, everything that you desire is yours. I was thinking about, I'm going to do a rise up on the concept of impossibility. And I was writing about it. And if you think about it, things that you deem impossible are impossible just based on your current reality and your knowledge of science and mathematics and reality, right? Then all of a sudden somebody does it and it becomes possible. So there's so many things in here. So I'm in here, or I'm here now on the other side of, my routine because of the concept of death. That's what I want to share with you in my thoughts. Think about it. I'm here and I did it anyway because of death. What the hell is he talking about? So the awareness of our unavoidable death gives birth to the clarity of our life. So it's all about urgency. When you come up against this moment where you're contemplating not following through, you're unconscious of the irrationality of it in that moment. Right? Your brain, we don't control our brain for the most part. Our brain latches onto thoughts and justifications of why we shouldn't, right? Remember, the moment that you decide to push forward, what happens is the reason and value for pushing forward supersedes the reason not to. That's it. So as soon as you find yourself saying, I'm not going to do this, you need to have a reason to do it. So for today, for me, it was the concept of the unavoidable fact that I'm going to die. And it gave birth to clarity and my ability to push through. So what makes human beings, this is fascinating about us. What makes human beings unique is that we actually are one of the only species, as far as we know that we're going to die. That's what makes us so unique. Knowing this unveils our purpose in life. If you really think about it, and I learned this when I went and sat with plant medicine in the jungle recently, I always want to know what's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? And if you understand that, embrace and become conscious of the fact that you have this shelf life, your purpose is to live. That's your purpose in life, to live. Now you get to decide what that means, but to live is the opposite of the unpredictableness of our pending death. So it sounds like a dark thing to contemplate this, but it's the only reason we get out of bed. Think about it. We have, with the advancement of technology, there's a good chance one day that you'll be able to live forever, right? Now, I don't know if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I recommend you think about it. But if you knew that you were never going to die, would you get out of bed? Would you get out of bed today, tomorrow, this week, this month? Would you stay in bed for a year and say, I'll catch up next year? Right. So that's what made me push through. As I said, I don't know if I have another day. So today I'm going to choose life. So we get to determine and decide to what degree of urgency. Once I said I'm going to get up, And then I said, am I going to just do it mediocre, or in the urgency of the mortality mentality and recognizing the value of life and the unpredictableness of how much time I have, I decided to increase my urgency to live and not just go through the motions, but go at it hard. And it was not easy. But do you see how I was evolving in my consciousness, because of death? Thank you, death. So our consciousness, our conscious recognition of our death drives our urgency to live. So unless you know how much time you have, do you? Do you know where you are in the line that is leading towards rocketing up to heaven, if you're so lucky? Do you know how much time you have? Perhaps today is a good day to start living. This is going to be my final message before Christmas. Perhaps today is a good day to fulfill your purpose and start living. No? So today I'm thankful for death before I start my little rise up here, for it motivated me to live life to the fullest. It's thanks to darkness that we strive for the light. So I hope that landed. So the mind trap. Some excerpts, and if you ever want to watch an amazing series for free, it's called Samadhi, right? And it's by the folks at Awaken the World. You can go to awakentheworld.com. I'll put it in the show notes of our podcast when that loads. Awakentheworld.com and look up Samadhi. It's one of the best. There's 3 parts. If you just watch 15 minutes of that a morning, it'll change your life. So stepping into, this is what I got from some of it. I've watched it like 12 times. Stepping into and embracing anything, this is the mind trap. Stepping into and embracing anything new requires an open mind and can take time. We know that. So the mind, your mind, my mind, can act as a trap or prison for our consciousness. What's interesting about consciousness is we know there's something called the hard problem of consciousness. We know that we know that we don't know where consciousness lives, but the latest and greatest minds perceive that our brains don't contain consciousness. Our brains possess the ability to tap into a field of consciousness that's potentially outside of our brain. But what I'm saying here is the mind, your mind, can actually act as a trap or prison for our consciousness, meaning shut down and move you away from consciousness, which is called unconsciousness. So it's not that you're in prison, right? When I say that your mind has the ability to imprison you and hold you back, it's not that you're actually in prison. You and your program mind are the prison. Think about that. Nothing external is holding you back from things that you desire. You are holding yourself back, but your perception and acknowledgement of who's got that deal, right? And I just said, someone said, yeah, God ain't real. Interesting. That's an interesting concept, my friend. So, however, this prison, right, is an illusion, and it's created by your programmed mind. Remember, your programmed mind is your programming is by your programmers, your mother, father, teacher, preacher, and now the consuming of society and social media. It's all programming your mind. So that's where the illusion is created, that you're imprisoned, right? If you try to fight this illusion, right? If you try to ignore this illusion and fight it, it actually works against you, as it's the acknowledgement of the illusion, right? Of this mind trap, of this prison, of this victim status, victim of circumstance. If you try to run from it, right? That's not going to work, but it's the acknowledgement of the illusion that makes it real. So what I'm saying there is if you think that you are in a situation, it becomes real to you, right? But if you know that it's an illusion, which indicates it's not real, then you could move forward. So just to put it in perspective, what is the topic we're talking about? It's called mind trap. How you get in your own way. You get locked in your mental prison. Let's put it into context. When I woke up this morning, I was involved in a mind trap. So I had these ideas that I should not get out of bed. I should not go through my routine. I shouldn't even show up here to be with you, right? That's what I thought this morning. So the mind trap is that I didn't recognize that I had control over that situation. In that moment, it had control over me, right? So it wasn't until I said bullshit, I called bullshit on it, and then I recognized the urgency of time, because I don't know how much time I have to live. That's what helped me push forward. But I had to acknowledge that what I was thinking and campaigning for wasn't real, right? I was making it real by buying into it. So that's what the mind trap is. So freeing yourself from this mind trap is achieved by separating yourself from the egoic construct. So you have to acknowledge the difference between your ego and your reality, which you could think is your egoic construct. So the part of you, this is your egoic construct, the part of you that seeks to be right and label and give judgment on things. So when I was giving judgment and labeling these thoughts that I shouldn't move forward, right? Those were coming from my egoic construct, but I didn't separate. I believed it was me, not separate myself from recognizing that it was my egoic construct. So we must stop identifying ourselves with the prison. Remember, it's an illusion. We must stop identifying ourselves with this prison and only see it as a remnant. Here's what the prison is. It's a remnant of the old version of ourselves that's still trying to control our perception of reality. That's what it is. It's an old version of you. It's an old story. So this separation is accomplished by looking at our desired state, what we want. So I want to be happy, healthy, wealthy, and I want to be in control. I want to be the dominant force of my life, right? So I create my North Star, my destination, and making the distinction that my old concepts, this illusion, the mind trap, my old concepts and ideas no longer apply. They're not in support of what I want. So they don't apply. So once I make that distinction, that's when I can go, huh, holy shit, how'd that happen? So you still see them, you still acknowledge them. Don't be a fool. Acknowledge that those thoughts are remnants of your old story, of your old system that you used to use, and acknowledge them for their past efforts. They used to serve you for some reason. Maybe it was just to learn. Yet now you see that they are old news and no longer apply. That's how you separate yourself. If you are in such a prison right now, and you know how you know you're in a prison? You think you're right. You're standing by something and saying, I'm right, and you're closed to anything else. That's how you know you're in a mental prison. Because if you can't be open to anything else, you're in the mind trap, right? And it's not easy, man, because we like to stick up for ourselves. So if you're in such a prison, observe that you are also the warden and hold the key to the cell. Make sense? Well, I sure hope so. So Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. I will be back next week on Monday at 7:30 a.m. for these live check-ins. But as a reminder, you can always go to riseupwithdragon.com, get on our free newsletter, get all the free stuff that's coming with regards to the books. And for the sub 5-minute versions, which we're going to record right now, and I can't wait for the new place we're moving because I have a podcast studio that's like pretty cool. The sub 5-minute versions are in the podcast Rise Up with Dragon on all platforms. So if you want to use just like a quick little 5-minute or less version of this. So love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. And I wish you nothing but the best of happiness and health for you and your family. Bye-bye for now.